often we wear labels. There's a label that's, to me, there's several labels. I'm an African American woman, I'm a single mom, I'm a CEO, I'm a daughter. There's so many labels to me, but I don't live under the label. I allow the label to exist, but it doesn't define me. And so I invite you, if you are a woman, there's so many men watching my channel. I love you. I want you to always come. You're always welcome. This is your home. But to my sisters, I invite you, don't feel like life is harder for you because you're a woman. Don't feel like you have to work harder because you're a woman. Work hard. Just work hard. I never looked at, am I working harder as a woman? Am I working harder as a Black person? Now, are there inequities? Absolutely. I am not blind to that. But like I said in the previous episode, energy grows where energy goes. Am I going to give the inequities energy, or am I going to give the possibility energy? And I'm not saying that everything's hunky-dory and all things are right. No, there's some wrongs that really need to be corrected. But here's what I won't do. I won't wear a label and walk in a room living under that label, wondering how you're going to treat me because of that label. People used to ask, Lisa, how did you get on the main stage with people like Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield and people like, they rattle off all these older white men or very successful white speakers in the industry. And they say, how'd you get on stage with them as a Black woman? Or how'd you get on stage with them as a woman? And I go, I didn't get on stage with them as a woman. I got on stage with them as a badass speaker. I got on stage with them as someone who can bring value to the audience. I got on stage with them because I'm a change agent. So can you live through the results that you produce in the world? Can you allow that to define you? Like, this is the bag that you were given. A woman, a man, Black, white, Indian, Asian, the religion you were born into, the economic status you grew up under. All of those things are boxes that someone else said, let's drop you in it. And then you had to choose if you're gonna stay in it. I am too big to be defined by a box, any label of any size. Why don't you join that? So don't be successful as a woman, be successful. Don't be successful as a man, be successful. Don't be loving and giving as a Black person or white person or Asian person. Be loving and giving. Just be. And then become contagious for someone else to want to be that way because they crossed your path. Our desire to say yes to everyone really is less about them and more about our need to be approved, our need to be perceived loving, kind, and generous. Now, I know that might be hard to hear, but when you don't have the ability to say no, it really isn't about the people that you're saying no to. It's about you not wanting to draw a healthy boundary, not wanting to turn someone away, not wanting to risk the fact that you might not make someone happy with you in the moment. Go underneath that and say, why am I having that challenge? The answer to that is the core of why you don't want to say no. Because I want to be liked and loved all the time. Because I don't want to experience rejection. Because I want people to see me as a giving, loving person. Because. Now, none of those are wrong. But can you already know that about yourself? And if you know you're loving, if you know you're kind, if you know you're giving, if you know that you're generous, then you can say healthy yeses when you need to say yes. And you can say a healthy no when you need to say no. My grandmother says, if you want your yes to have the most value possible, then sweetie, you need to learn how to exercise your no. Because if you keep telling everyone yes, you actually diminish the value of your yes. Because I'm not grateful that you said yes. As a matter of fact, I expected you to say yes. Why? Because you always say yes. You know, the whole fake it till you make it. Well, I don't want to fake it forever. I have no interest in faking it forever. But I do want to play like I'm courageous enough until my courage appears. I want to pretend like I'm not afraid until I'm not afraid. I want to fake like I know how to do this business. I know how to surrender to this love and while pursuing the ability to know how to do this business. Pursue the understanding of knowing how to surrender to love. I don't think there's a place in your life that when you're playing bigger than you've played before, that you won't feel nervous, you won't feel a little afraid, and at times you won't have a sense of the imposter syndrome. What if you're not an imposter in the career you're in? You're not an imposter in the relationship. You're not an imposter in the entrepreneurial business. What if you're just learning? What if you visualize the 7-foot tall you and the 5'8", 6'1", 6'2", 5'2" version of you is still tippy-toeing to growth of that individual? You are not a victim to anything. There's not something that's been bestowed upon your family that generationally has to occur over and over and over again. There are habits, there are awareness, and there are actions. And when you change your habits, expand your awareness, and elevate your action, you can change a curse into a blessing. I get asked the question a lot, how do I jumpstart again when I've been complacent? You know, I found that I had to ask myself this question as well. For so many years, I was working hard to feed Jelani. I was working hard to give him an equal chance. I had this goal that by the time he was 18, I would have transformed our lives. And I ran hard for it, and I worked hard for it. And by the time he was 18, our lives were completely transformed and barely recognizable. And I found that I had slowed down a bit, still running, but running at about 70%. And the challenge that you have to watch out for is that your 70% could be someone else's 115%, because you are such a game changer. So you can impress a lot of people never playing full out. And you can look up and a year has passed, 3 years has passed, 5 years have passed, and you haven't played full out for a while because you've already achieved a lot by some people's standards. But there's still so much more that you can do. I want to coach you in this way. Dream a dream or set a goal that's big enough to make you get nervous. Oftentimes, if you're not setting a goal that's beyond 3 years out in front of you, there's not enough to run for. So I want you to look at your goals. Can you achieve them in a year, 2 years? I want you to set a goal for 3 years, set a goal for 5 years, and set a goal for 10 years. Yes, I said 10 years. When I did this phenomenal program called Lifebook, they had me set 10-year goals, and I was so uncomfortable. I sat there silent for a moment. I hadn't thought 10 years out about my life. But if you go out far enough, 10, 5, 3, then all of a sudden you're playing for something so much bigger. And then set a goal that makes your knees knock and your teeth chatter a bit. If you know how to get to your goal, you're not dreaming big enough. Now, the goal also has to be realistic. So it has to be realistic, something you can do. If you're currently making $80,000, then your goal in 3 years isn't to make $500,000 unless you have a path that's viable to get you there. That's real. The thing that's really important to remember about a goal is that if you set lofty goals that you will never hit because they're not realistic in the first place, you have to set realistic goals. Doesn't mean you're not capable, doesn't mean that you don't believe in yourself, but realistic goals. If you set a bunch of unrealistic goals and you don't hit them, every time you don't hit a goal, you lose just a little bit of hope in yourself, a little bit of faith in yourself. And then what happens is you look up 5 years, 10 years from now, and you're not dreaming anymore. You're not setting goals anymore. You're afraid to tell anyone. So set a goal that makes your knees knock and your teeth chatter a bit. Set a goal that's 3 years out in front of you. Set one that's 5 years, and set one that's 10 years. As a matter of fact, set several in all those timelines. And then hook your caboose to the train of other people who are running as fast as you are. Surround yourself in a community that inspires you to want to stand on your tippy toes. They inspire you because they're doing so much. Now, they believe in values, they believe in faith, they believe in family, but they also believe in running hard, playing hard, and living big. Because if you're the biggest fish in your community, then that's okay. You just need to get a second community to play inside of as well. And so if you find yourself going, hold on, I've become complacent, walk out 15 years and go, do I want to look back in 15 years and this was the best that I did? The answer probably is no. So the first thing I said was, I'm done with this level of misery. So
I didn't run toward anything first. The first thing I did was try to get as far away from chaos and scarcity and lack and procrastination and procrastinating people and making excuses, making being a single mom an excuse, or being black an excuse, or being born in LA an excuse. Not to say those things don't impede or have an impact on our ability to move forward, but I didn't want to make any one of them my crutch as to why I stayed in my hellhole. I don't know about anyone else, but my place, I didn't know where I was going, but I knew where I was leaving. And so when I say to you, I didn't choose the possibility first. I just stopped choosing the chaos. See, there's a couple of there's several choices you have to make, because your answer isn't going to come with the ceiling opening and lights beaming in and a choir showing up and like, no, that doesn't happen like that. If the first thing is, I was sick of smelling my own crap. I was sick of hearing my own story. I was sick of wondering about my own potential. So I realized that everything I had done had gotten me where I was. And everything I didn't know was gonna get me somewhere else. You're gonna play big, say big. Big. You're gonna play huge, say huge. Huge. You're gonna play ginormous, say ginormous. But first, take baby steps. You're gonna eat the elephant. Take one small bite first, chew it good. Right? We want so much so fast. My grandmother says baby, she starts every sentence with baby. I'm sure it's because she cannot remember all of our names. She said, baby, the best things you'll ever have from grandma will never come from the microwave. They always come from the oven. And I was like, I think somehow she's trying to give me a lesson here. And I realized that the best things that you're gonna create are gonna take time. Build it on cement, not sinking sand. You're gonna get tons and tons and tons of tools here. And you're gonna wanna fast forward. But when you fast forward, you build it on plexiglass, you build it on styrofoam, you build it on wood, you wanna build it on cement. Your dream is important enough to outlive you. Yes, yes? Yes. And so I realized that you can't Google download resiliency. You can't Google download tenacity. You can't Google download forgiveness. There are some of the best qualities and characteristics that's gonna take you a long way that you need to invest time in and energy in and intention in. You don't just get patience. I want patience, I'm waiting for patience. Somebody's gonna piss you off tomorrow. And now you get to test if you have patience. I realized that as I wanted to develop me, I had to be willing to climb, and I wanted to get to the top, and there's no elevator to the top. I gotta do my squats. I gotta work on my quads and my hamstrings and my calves, because I gotta climb to the top. We gotta climb. Abundant thinkers keep themselves in a constant state of cognitive dissonance. Write that down. Abundant thinkers keep themselves in a constant state of cognitive dissonance. You're creative, spell it any way you want. Now, what is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is when you have literally thought about a version of yourself that you're not currently living right now. Meaning the thought that you have of yourself, your behaviors are not congruent with. So your mind becomes disrupted. Your mind says, wait a minute, you're seeing me here, but my behaviors aren't here. And when you keep yourself in a constant state, your mind begins to influence your behaviors to be congruent with your thought. Ooh. Next level. Cognitive dissonance. Abundant thinkers. That's why he went out to the ocean. That's why he's up on stage, because constantly seeing himself further than what his behaviors want to really do. And then when he does it, now I got that down. Constantly. Now it's being grateful for your now. Yes, yes? Yeah. Being grateful for your now, but clearly seeing where you're going and not resting until you get there. If you have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that you want to do, write them out. And I make columns for each one. So I don't put them all together because they're each almost like on separate islands, which is why you feel so fragmented or overwhelmed or whatever that might be. So I make columns, and then I just put the idea at the top of the column. And I just write out everything that I have in my head about the idea until I feel like, whew, okay, I got that out. once I have them out, then I attach a timeline to when I'm going to start it and ideally complete it. Now, let's be clear. The timeline of when you're going to start it and complete it are going to move. So don't get stressed out about the timeline. You made it up. I'm going to say that again. When you create a timeline, you made it up, which means you get to modify what you made up at any given time. But I give myself a start and a completion date. Now, here's the key thing. There are things that I give a start date to that I'm not even going to start for 2 years, for 18 months. Matter of fact, I'll do, like, let's say I'm in the second quarter of this year. I'll put in one of those columns, my start date is the second quarter of next year. So I know I'm going to get to it. It's called, what am I doing now? And what am I not doing now? But I'm doing it. I'm just not doing it now. Oh, man, can I tell you, don't sleep on that little nugget right there. I learned that from my coach, Susie Carter, that there's your doing now, and then there's your doing, but not now. So it's on the calendar. Everything that you're doing should be on the calendar. There's the doing now. It has a place on the calendar that you're actively in. And then there's a doing not now because it's on the calendar. So I have some great projects I'm excited about. I don't start them for like another 10 months. And then I put all my other projects from these columns inside of these current 10 months. And so now you are doing it because you have a start date, but you're not overwhelmed with it because it's not all vying for your space and your attention in the now.